I'm Brian Van from SportBikeTrackGear.com, and today we're going to install our Spiegler stainless steel rear brake line on our 2014 STG Road Racing World Honda CBR1000RR Project Bike. This is a pretty simple install at the end of the day. Okay, we've already done the fronts. You might have watched that video by now. What we're going to cover here is the tools needed, the procedure needed, and most importantly, it's probably going to be when we tidy this up at the end, how to bleed the brakes, okay? Spiegler is our most recommended stainless braided brake line. You see I chose yellow with red fittings. There are so many color combinations, it's unbelievable, and it really helps you customize the look of your motorcycle. When you buy the lines from us, you're going to also get free colored banjo bolts. The color is going to match the fittings so it looks amazing. All Spiegler brake lines are DOT certified, so they're going to work well for race or street applications. They're manufactured here in the US, all with top quality components. Another feature these offer is you are able to, using the toolkit they supply, actually rotate the fitting on the ferrule where the line and the fitting come together so you can get a perfect kink-free installation. Tools needed, pretty basic job here. We've got a 12 wrench, a 14 millimeter, we've got an 8 millimeter wrench, I've got a 5 millimeter Allen on a ratchet. Now we need a Phillips screwdriver so we can get the lock off for the rear brake fluid reservoir. Rags, I like to have some brake cleaner, brake fluid, motor fuel RBF 600. We've got some cleaner here in case we spill some brake fluid on painted surfaces. I want to get that off quickly. Power bleeder, I'm going to use this to evacuate the system. I'm going to totally drain this thing so I get a nice drip-free install. You might not have that. If you don't, you can use something like a turkey baster to empty out your reservoir to help reduce the amount of fluid spillage. And my favorite little tool here, if you don't have a power bleeder, which is not always a good purchase for a do-it-yourselfer because you don't use it that much, we sell a speed bleeder bag and hose kit. It costs just a couple bucks. You can see I already used it on the front. And this allows you to bleed the brakes with one person, and it's totally mess-free. You can use it over and over again. If you're doing brake lines, add this into the cart and buy that too. When we come back, I'm going to be evacuating all the fluid from the rear brakes. All right, I've taken the keeper off the rear brake master reservoir, right? We're not going to put that back on. It's a race bike. I've got my vacuum bleeder here. I'm going to go ahead and stick the end in, squeeze the trigger, and drain the reservoir completely. If you have an older bike and you have some miles on it, there's some debris in there, you may want to actually clean that out with some brake cleaner or something too and make sure you have all that gone. Now that we've got the reservoir empty, we're going to go ahead and repeat the process back here at the rear caliper, and we'll suck all the fluid that's in the line and in the caliper out so we get a nice drip-free install. When you have it drained, you can actually hear the suction over here at the reservoir. Close that up. We're done with the power bleeder. When we come back, we're going to be removing the rear brake line. Okay, we're going to begin by actually taking off the rear brake line mounts here at the swing arm. This stock line mounts in two places. One is up here at that small tire rudder, the other one is obviously back here on the swing arm. The only one we will be reusing is going to be the one back here on the swing arm. So when I take the fastener out here and release this hold down, I'm just going to put the fastener right back in and torque it back down. Pop that out of there, line that back up. Just go ahead and just take that right back down. We'll grab our ratchet and snug this bad boy up and be done with this part here. one back here. We're going to reuse this mounting point. Spiegler has supplied us with a new mount to use. Okay, so we're just going to put the fastener to the side and save that. Now it's time to take off the brake line itself. Just in case we have a little bit of fluid spillage, I want to be able to catch that real quick. So I've got a rag with me there, 12mm wrench. We will not be reusing any of the stock banjos or the stock crush washers. We have all new banjo bolts and crush washers. So when we're done with this line, once we get it off the bike, we are just going to discard all of the pieces. You don't want to let this stuff sit around because there always ends up being some residual fluid in it. It's going to end up dripping on something. It's nasty. They're garbage. Roll in the can as soon as you get it off the bike. We'll repeat the same process here for the rear banjo. Let's go ahead and see you got a little bit of fluid running out there. I'm going to catch that right now. Once I get the line off the bike too, I am going to walk around and look at the area that I've been working in, just to make sure that we don't have any fluid on the painted surfaces. If we do, I'm going to clean it up immediately. Okay, stock line is in the trash. The first step now is mocking the line up on the bike and making sure that it lines up perfectly. Remember, with the Spiegler lines, you have the ability to rotate the fittings, which really aids in getting that nice kink-free install so everything looks and fits just right. They have also added a sticker that says rear master cylinder, so you know which fitting goes where and there's no guesswork there. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull that now, and looking at the two, clearly it's going to be the banjo that has the largest, or I'm sorry, the fitting with the biggest angle in it. So I'm going to go ahead and mock this up, just kind of get a feel for where everything's at. And see if I need to rotate that fitting. I'll take this. Put that in there finger tight. And actually, I think I need to flip the whole line over, like so. I do have the Vortex rear sets on there already, so that is going to have an effect on how the line fits just a little bit. Oh yeah, that's going to be perfect, and that's going to come right down here against the swing arm. This is going to fit up super, super nice. Okay, there's no need to rotate the fitting, so we're going to save a little time there. If you're doing your rear brake line and you do find that you need to turn one of the fittings a little bit, I want you to look to the front brake line video for this same project bike. We had to turn one of them there, and we'll show you how to do that. Okay, now, banjo bolt, brake line fitting. I'm sorry, banjo bolt, crush washer, brake line fitting. We've got to put another crush washer in. So then we will put this on the master cylinder. Aluminum banjos with this. Aluminum crush washers. When you tighten this stuff up, you do not need to use a tremendous amount of torque. You need to be careful with it. Same deal here in the back. We've got the banjo, we've got the crush washer, the fitting, another crush, and now we're going into our rear caliper. This line is going to look absolutely gorgeous on this bike. While we're talking about how sweet this line looks, got a little pushback from my team. I chose the colors, right, of the lines for the bike. Not everybody seems to love my choice of yellow with red fittings. I happen to think it looks amazing on the Honda, so feel free to leave your thoughts in the YouTube video comment section. Now, Spiegler supplies a nice, right, line holder. So we're going to go ahead and put that over the line, compress it. We're going to reuse that stock fastener. It's going to go right here. So it gives you that real factory look here. Just put that in, just finger tight. Now I want to look at everything and see how it lines up. I mean, this is lining up perfect. It worked great with our Vortex rear sets. I dig that. Now we're going to go ahead and make sure these are all down finger tight. Go ahead and use my 14mm wrench and snug it up. Remember, we don't need to go crazy with the torque here. We've got all aluminum components. hold the brake line so that it stays in line with our swing arm. Right there. That torque is good. Snug up our mount. I feel pretty good about my choice of yellow here with red fittings. I think I did all right. Okay, next up is the interesting part, bleed the brake. We're going to open up by filling the reservoir, like so. Pretty much fill it right up to the top because remember, we're going to be bleeding it out, so we'll be able to adjust that brake fluid level as we go. Now, for our super sweet brake bleeder bag and hose kit. Trust me when I tell you, this will be the best money ever spent. If you buy a brake line kit from us, you want to jump on this because it really makes the whole deal a lot easier. I'm going to go ahead and put the wrench over the screw, put the hose over the nipple of the bleeder screw. You see how it holds on there nice and tight. And now what we're going to do is we need to get the fluid moving. Remember, I totally emptied the system, so it's going to take a little bit of patience. You might want to open up with a gravity bleed, just opening the screw, walking away for a few minutes, allow gravity to push the fluid through the line. That'll hurry the process along. Another thing you can do, because this is a relatively short circuit, is open the screw, depress and hold the rear brake pedal, close the screw. We're going to repeat this process until we have good fluid flow. You see, we are starting to get a little bit of movement there because this circuit is a lot shorter than the front. If you allow the rear brake pedal to come up while the bleeder screw is open, you're going to just introduce more air into the system. So make sure your timing with the wrench is good. Make this process go a whole heck of a lot smoother. Always be cognizant of your rear brake fluid level. I can see that coming down now quite a bit. Starting to get some fluid flow. I'm able to pump the rear lever up a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pump it a couple times. I'll hold it down, open the screw, close the screw, let the lever come up. Repeat the process. The clear hose allows you to really have an idea of when you have clear fluid without any air bubbles. Fluid level's starting to get a little low. I want to keep my eye on that. Getting pretty close now. Going to go ahead and top that fluid off. If you let the fluid get too low, it's going to have the same result as allowing the brake pedal to come up while you have the screw open. It's going to fill the system full of air, and then you are back to square one. You have to start the entire process all over. I've got a really good rear brake pedal right now. Pump it up, hold it. Starting to get a lot cleaner. Just a tickle of air in there still. Gotta be careful. Sometimes some air will be introduced around the seal of the actual hose here on the bleeder screw. So you don't necessarily have to see a perfectly clear fluid flow. If you've got a really good pedal, nice hard pedal like I do at this point, you've got all the air out of the system. So we're just going to do it one more time. And that rear pedal, the pedal feels absolutely perfect. We're just a little bit high on our fluid level here. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to hit this one more time just to bring that level down. Once more. got it down just below the upper mark. The thing that you don't want to do is you don't want to overfill it. And let it sit for a minute, kind of see where that shakes out, see if it drops too much. Looks like we're good to go. I'm going to go ahead and put the cap back on it. Want to make sure the cap's good and clean when you put it back on. You do not want any debris introduced into your brake system. Like so. Verifying you see the travel there is absolutely perfect. The action from the Vortex rear sets is super nice. One thing I may do is I may actually add a brake pedal return spring, right? And it just ensures that the master cylinder piston is extended out all the way so you don't have any rear brake drag. So that's something we may add on later in the project. Now, the last step is going to be checking for leaks. We showed you the cool trick up front with the zip tie. Honestly, I don't really have a trick like that for the back, but what I am going to do, I'm going to sit here, I'll hold it for a little while, and I want to look at each of the fittings and just make sure that we don't see anything seeping out while we apply pressure to it. Everything looks great. I think we're going to be good to go. Double check your bleeder screw, make sure that's nice and tight. Give it all a nice once over. Also very important, check for any spilled fluid. If you have spilled fluid, clean it up because you don't want to damage the painted surfaces on your motorcycle. Pretty quick and easy project, but look at aesthetically how that really changes the bike. I mean, taking that factory line off of there, and now you've got all this color introduced, which I think looks pretty super sweet in yellow and red, makes the bike look great, personalizes it. This is a Spiegler rear brake line install on our 2014 STG Road Racing World Honda CBR1000RR.